Hello, everyone. Hi, Too Fast, Too Turtle. How are you doing today? Hello, everyone. Hi, Too Fast, Too Turtle. How are you doing today? Oh, my laptop's on in the background. Let me turn the sound off on that. I hope everyone is absolutely wonderful today. So we're picking up on the book I was reading last time, Mythical Irish Beasts, written and illustrated by Mark Joyce, which you can buy online from Korok Books, I think, although I'm not sure if it ships to America or not. But it's well worth looking into, because there may be some pages I've missed, and my scans are done with my camera phone, so they're kind of intentionally not of the greatest quality. So let's go over there then. Why, hello there. We are back at the wonderful Locker, the very mystical place indeed. We have our book in front of us. So we're back at the start of the book because I want to flick through. Oops, my audio is distorting a little bit despite having a compressor on. Let me double check that. Do I still have the gosh darn... Yeah, let me turn the reverb off. I don't think I need reverb for this that badly. So hopefully my levels are okay now. So yeah, let's take a look at... Let me find a playlist to put on for this. I made one for last time. So yeah, I'm going to flick through it from the start for people who weren't here last time, just to give you a very quick look at some of the other monsties that we are not going to get into so much today. Library. Where's my special playlist for this? Irish Fair. Here we go. There. Do you feel mystical yet? There we go. It's probably going to be a bit of feedback here, so let me just... It's very quietly in the background so I can kind of hear it. Okay. So yeah, this is a book put together to kind of show some of the better and lesser known creatures from Irish mythology. So there's some that I don't know here, and I'm Irish, so that's pretty impressive. Let's scoot over a teeny tiny... Oh, am I locked? Okay, hold on. Actually, let me move here. There we go. So now we're going to take a look at the book. So here was the page inside. Oh, I might scoot back over a little bit actually and shrink myself. There we go. So this is this nice, sort of very spooky looking sea. Water and the ocean and stuff appears a lot, especially in Irish and Welsh mythology, because we are island nations. Mythical Irish beasts. I love the eye pick thingy. The aim bar. The Merrow, the Irish Mermaids, Swim Cat, King of Otters. Loch. No, don't worry, you're not late. I'm just going quickly through the previous entries, just to show you, give you some ideas of what they look like. Thanks for coming. This guy's fun. Yeah, we had a particular favorite the last time. Actually, let me go see if Tulip's online to invite her in, because she was really fond of this particular beastie. Yeah, you'll see it when we get to it. Let me invite some friendos to the stream. There we go. Let's see if she turns up. There we go. Let's see if she turns up. Anyway, let's move on with the book. So I like this guy, but we're going to keep moving. Enchantments. Dearla Dove, Liamacha and Dove England. Arathek and his 3 werewolf daughters. Fish with 3 golden teeth. Exactly 3 golden teeth. Oh, here was the Poggers one, the weird suckerfish thing. I might read this one out again. I want to get to Puka today, which is about 22 pages on, so I'll be reading more than last time, although I will not be reading a preface, and that was a bit longer. Yeah, I want to get to Puka, and I might go a little bit further if I have enough people to warrant it. That are interested. Let's see, okay, the Morrigan. Did I guess her as the Morrigan? No, I did not. Yeah, here we go. Al-Pluacher. There are not many descriptions as to their visage, but Robert Kirk, in his 1893 book, The Secret Commonwealth of Elves, Fauns and Fairies, explains that Al-Pluacher are lean like a heron or hawk, notwithstanding his devouring appetite. One story tells of the Al-Pluacher or Giant Eater. The story goes that there was once a wealthy farmer from Connacht who fell asleep beside a stream, and when he woke, he had a pain in his belly. His sickness got worse and worse, and he started to lose weight, no matter how much he ate. He spent all his fortune on doctors trying to get a cure for his illness, but to no avail. Eventually, when all hope seemed lost, he met a beggar man, who concluded that his ailment was the result of the Al-Pluacher. The only cure was to go to the Prince of Coolhaven. The prince instructed him to eat salted beef, and then brought him to the brink of the stream, where he told him to lie down in his stomach over the stream, hold his face over the water, and open his mouth as wide as he could. It's not picking up my expressions very well. The sick man was lying like that for less than a quarter of an hour when something began moving inside of him, and he felt something coming up in his throat. The prince said in a whisper, "Now the thirst's coming on them. The salt that was in the beef is working them. Now they'll come out." "There's a dozen of them now," said the prince. Eventually, with much pain, the mother of the little beast came out to join her brood in the water. With this and a good meal, the man was cured. It's a nice little bit of body horror for you today. Yeah, that was kind of a favourite on the stream last time. We talked about the idea of an Al-Pluacher Isekai. So you get like reincarnated like a Celtic fantasy world where people are like banshees and do all kinds of cool things, fairies and stuff, and you're this weird goddamn parasite fish. I really like that idea. That's Tarantulips' idea though, so yeah, I can credit her. Okay, so we're on to a whale now. We're getting into bow territory. The Beast Jasconius. That does not sound Irish at all, so let's see, it probably has some religious significance. Just gonna take a sip of my specialty. Because I have a terrible throat today. So I cannot do my storytime voice without it. Saint Brendan, born in 484 and died in 577, was probably best known for his legendary journey in a leather boat from Ireland across the Atlantic to North America. The voyage, known as the Voyage of Saint Brendan the Navigator, was put into book form around AD 900. In the book, there are 29 chapters, and in one chapter, he finds an island of sheep. In another, a griffin and a dragon bird battle. Oh, we got some kaiju action in our Irish mythology. The battle is heroic, with the griffin tearing the eyes of the dragon and sparks fly from their crashing teeth. Many a wound is given. The griffin is large and the dragon wins victory by being quick and throwing the dead griffin onto the sea. Yeah, he's a big boy. Look at these dudes on him. Even for a blue whale, that's like thick. Importantly for us, he also encounters a sea monster, the Beast Jasconius. Brendan and his fellow voyagers at sea, and as it is Easter, they wish to make camp to celebrate the day. They see an island and climb onto it to make camp. When they light their campfire, the island begins to move. Out of fear of the moving island, they race to their ship. Once back on the ship, Brendan explains that the moving island is really the Beast Jasconius, who labours unsuccessfully to put his tail in his mouth. That's weird. I guess it's like an ADHD thing or something. It was a neurodivergent whale that has to like stim by trying to put its tail in its mouth. It's a big doggo. Okay, here's some notes. The griffin is a legendary creature with the head, talons, wings of an eagle, and body of a lion. We know that. The name is Irish from isk, the usual word for fish. He's described as the largest creature of the deep and constantly trying to join his head twist. That's like what imagine like being this really big, powerful dude that like shelters these important figures from Irish mythology. It's like, yeah, he wants to try sticking his tail in his mouth. That's like his whole thing. So yeah, it reminds me a bit of the original Bahamut. Was said to be various things. It wasn't originally a dragon. It comes kind of from Islamic mythology, sort of. He was originally like either a giant fish or a whale or a serpent. I like the serpent the most because it's kind of like the bridge between the fishy and the dragony. But yeah, in some depictions he was like a whale. Circle of life. Oh, we're onto the real powerful stuff now. The Immortal Crane! Yeah, that's my favorite finisher. The crane is mentioned quite a lot in Irish legend and folklore. It is noted that if the crane flies high in the middle of the day, it is a sign that good weather will continue. However, if the crane flies low and frequently stops, then rain may be expected. Often, the names of the heron and the crane are used to describe the same bird. The most famous mention of the crane in Irish legend is that of the crane bag of I was going to Mananangal territory here. Mananan MacLure. Mananan MacLure's name translates to son of the sea, and he is the chief god associated with the sea. There's actually a statue of him, I think, up north somewhere. Or like a mountainside that looks like him. One of his most important possessions is the crane bag that holds all his precious things, including language. Yeah, I just keep my languages in my bag, just in case I forget, like, I learned French, totally, and I might forget it, so just shove it in my bag. Got French in my bag. It's funny getting these weird conceptual things. I'd love a bag that can store extra languages, it's like those stones you can get in D&D. And I got really distracted by that image. Mananon acquired the bag after the Princess Aoife was transformed into a crane. Hate it when that happens. She subsequently lived with MacLure for 200 years, and on her death, he made his bag from her skin. What's with these dudes? The Immortal Crane comes from the island of Inishke off the coast of County Mayo, where according to legend, a lonely crane lives without any kin. Since Genesis, he has lived there looking down on the Atlantic waves, and he will survive until the day of judgment. Sometimes it is thought that the crane in question is an enchanted person doing some form of penance. Yeah, I know, this is a common thread with like most of these stories. Like, some of them are pretty cool and positive, I guess, but a lot of them do get really, really dark. Hold on, I don't want to de-mirror myself. There we go, and I'm facing the right direction. Oh yeah, I love this girl. We're on to the Morrigan. Nice. Morrigan is a friend of mine and is misunderstood, much like me. So I may correct some of this later. Oh boy, this is a dark background. The Morrigan are three sisters named Bave, Mocca, and Aunand. I'm glad they got that right because a lot of people say Namain, who is sometimes mentioned as one of them, but Aunand is technically the correct name for the Morrigan, like the head sister or whatever, who together are called the Morrigan. The Morrigan is the great phantom queen of Ireland, the goddess of war and fate. She is included in this book because she has the ability to transform into a multitude of different animals, including birds and fish, and also has the ability to transform from a beautiful young girl into a hag. That's like basically me on a Sunday night. The Morrigan's home in Ireland is Rathcruachan in Roscommon. Rathcruachan is thought to be a kind of entrance to the other world and is sometimes known as Hell's Gate. I think that was definitely a later edition. Hi Dragon Cat Lily, welcome to the stream. I hope you're going to enjoy these weird beasties and slightly dark plot twists that we're experiencing here. In the epic poem Tainbo Coilinga, God, I know the story and I should know how to pronounce it. Coilinga, an invasion is launched by Queen Maeve of Connacht. Cuchulainn defends It's also by Queen Maeve of Connacht to capture the Ulster Bull Don Cualinga. I should be able to pronounce that. Hi Misty, thanks for coming. Cuchulainn defends Ulster and, in between battles, the Morrigan offers him love and aid in battle, which he rejects. Feeling slighted, she retaliates by appearing as an eel that trips him, but he breaks her ribs. Then she appears as a wolf that creates a stampede of cattle, but he pokes the wolf's eye. Pokes it out. When the Morrigan becomes the red heifer leading the stampede, Cuchulainn breaks her leg. Later, she appears to Cuchulainn as an old milk cow with the wounds inflicted by Cuchulainn. When Cuchulainn asks for a drink, she allows him to suckle from 3 teats. Literal mommy milkies. Oh, Morrigan is the OG mommy milky. And with each drink, he blesses her, and with each blessing, a wound is healed. That reminds me of not another D&D podcast with the spell with the giant possum where you can milk its teats for healing. Oh, moonshine. At the end of the epic, she appeared as a hooded crow and famously lands on Cuchulainn's shoulder. It is only when she does this that the armies of Connacht believe he has died. Yeah, I'm going to have to give some explanation for this. Let's take a look at the notes and see what they have. Aunand is a variant spelling of Anu and also from Danan, from which we get Tuatha De Danann, which means the tribe of the goddess Danan. Queen Maeve is a legendary figure in Ireland and is the ultimate warrior queen. Her name can be interpreted as Mead Woman or She Who Intoxicates. Drinking Queen. Don Cualinga is a legendary Irish stud bull. He originally was a man named Fluch, and there's an explanation that says becoming a bull of the story on page 103 of Rucht and Fruic. God, we've got so much like people shape-shifting into... Yeah, I know. The wash. Yeah, so the Morrigan, just to explain that story with Cuchulainn, the Morrigan is often associated with death and battle, but her real role is kind of a sovereignty figure and prophetess, and she often represents or a connection with someone's land or their people in a certain way. So Cuchulainn refused, obviously, like in terms of modern bodily sovereignty and stuff, he has every right to refuse her, but the idea was that he was not making peace with the land and the aspect of sovereignty there, and was being kind of a dick to her. So later on he had to kind of make it up for her. So Cuchulainn was kind of meant to be sort of in the wrong there and had to eventually, they sort of both eventually had to reconcile. So both the wildness of the land and the slightly arrogant hero. So there's a part 2 to this, as implied by the part 1. So Ivredo, the Morrigan, part 2. Baive is one of the 3 Morrigan sisters who appeared before the Battle of Moirath in 637 AD. Baive is seen as grey-haired, lean and nimble, hovering and hopping about on the points of the spears and shields of the army who were to be victorious. She has also been described as big-mouthed, swarthy, swift, sooty woman, lame and squinting with her left eye. Same. In Cormac's glossary, Baive is a malignant couple by the name of Neat and his wife-to-be, Niman. They are described as being gods in the battle with pagans and as being a malignant, bad and venomous couple. I think we all know a couple like that. The Morrigan is also a sort of fairy phantom that is associated with war, who appeared as 3 malignant-looking witch hags with blue beards that came out of the Battle of Mochlena. Obviously, the trans women who haven't gotten around to doing any sort of hair removal yet, or are choosing not to. They're rocking their beards. Mochlena shrieking, which has the blue beards that came out before the Battle of Mochlena. Oh, that's actually my name, sort of. Shrieking and calling out for victory for Khan the 100 Fighter. That's literally saying Khan the 100 Fighter, because he fights 100 Gex. The Morrigan is also represented in the Battle of Mytura, where she appeared with the Dagda before the fighting and promised to destroy the opposing Fomorian army. This she did by reciting a magical poem and driving the Fomorians into the sea. Based. Is that the end of the Morrigan, or is there part 3? because I have some facts about them. Yeah, I think it was either Babe or Mocka that like cursed all the men of Ulster to like have infertile sperm or something. They do crazy stuff like that because they were spited. So there's a lot of like female empowerment figures in Irish mythology. Cormac's Glossary is an early Irish glossary of Old Irish words, dating to the 9th century. The glossary is ascribed to Cormac Mac Kilnan, King Bishop of Ulster. The Dogda is a god in Irish mythology and is portrayed as a father figure with power over the weather, time, and seasons, as well as life and death. It's actually kind of contentious whether the Morrigan was like actually a god that was like worshipped. Was more like revered, because a lot of neo-pagans were like, oh, we don't like the sort of Christianization and syncretism that came afterwards, but so much of this stuff does kind of come from the syncretic. So it's very hard to tell sometimes what the original one was, and all this was written down by monks anyway, Christian monks, who are generally pretty accurate in their descriptions. But anyway, oops, there's to be some moderation here. I really should have some models. Oh, you can see my tail. Welcome to the chat room. Mod view. Okay, this is my first time using mod view, so this is going to be an experience for all of us. Welcome to mod view. Skip all. So can I get rid of okay. I really should have figured out how to do this before. Okay, well we're just gonna ignore that message for now because I really want to get on with the book first. The Serpent of Loch Tiger. Okay, let me take a second. Loch Tiger. Loch Tiger is an enchanted lake in County Kerry with a ferocious serpent lurking in its depths. Thank you. Floof, floof, floof. It's not a huge tale because I didn't want it to get in the way too much, but I can fluff it out if I want to. I'll maybe add an emote for that. Legend has it that there was a child to be baptized by Saint Cuan, but Saint Cuan knew that people would not come to the feast for fear of the serpent, so he asked the serpent to allow him to put a cauldron on her head until Monday. By the way, the level's okay because I'm noticing that I might turn down the music a little bit. There we go. 3 icons. Oh, thanks for coming, by the way. I was meant to mod you, wasn't I? I was do that. 3 icons next to the name. Okay, I got rid of him anyway. No, it's okay. Thanks for coming at all, actually. I'll set you up as a mod later. Yeah, it's just spam. I was originally expecting like alt-right trolls rather than spam, but of course spam is omnipresent online. So there we go. She consented to this, not realizing until later that Cuan meant the Monday of Judgment Day. She then spoke a verse saying that if it were not for the cauldron on her head, she would devour more than 2/3 of the world. 2 men passing by the lake one early spring afternoon mocked the idea of her existence, and she immediately rose up, and the sound of water and ice breaking could be heard half a mile away. A variant of this legend says that her back emerges every May Day morning. She cannot put up her head because of the cauldron on it. According to William Gregory Wood Martin in Traces of the Elder Fates in Ireland, the serpent once devoured both the inhabitants of a nearby fortress and its cattle. In a rare case of cowardice, Cuchulainn, who was close by, said, "These be no friends of mine," and jumped over the castle wall in fear. It actually says, "These be no friends of mine." He just yeeted himself out. Oh, Cuchulainn. Oh, thank you so much, Dragon Cat Lady. I am having a bit of an issue. I'm bad at promotion, and my streams are generally pretty scuffed, so I am working to be entertainingly scruffed. I'm doing it better this time than last time. I did a whole Fortnite stream where I was muted. I'm like a total Twitch boomer. I have like a degree in computer science, and I just... Yeah, these are beta test streams. They're intentionally for me to get used to things before I have a proper layout and everything. Thank you so much. Kata, Part 1. Kata is a monster that gave the name to Inniscotha, known as Scattery, Ireland. Scattery! At the mouth of the Shannon River. Kata is mentioned first in the medieval book of Lismore, which tells us that Kata devoured St. Senan Smith named Narach, but that the saint brought him back to life with a miracle. After this, Saint Sinan and the beast battles. The Kata advanced, its eyes flashing flame with fiery breath, spitting venom, and opening its horrible jaws. But Sinan made the sign of the cross. Power of Christ compels you. And the beast collapsed. Oh, and got Abbey powers. Making it impossible to chain it up and throw it into the Dullahan. Or making it possible to chain it up and throw it into the Dullahan near Mount Calan. There are images of the beast that showed the demon with a spiked back, scales, fishtail, nose curling up spirally, and clawed forefeet, though these have now been lost. So I guess that's like a guesstimate of what it might look like. A dino shape, yeah. So I love these illustrations. They're so stylized and imaginative, and sorry, I require more liquid. Oh, it's gone cold now. Yeah, they're just a really fun style to them. They actually look really like something from an indie game, and I love that. And if I was making an indie game, I'd probably hire this guy to do it. Some kind of Irish Hollow Knight or something. On to part 2. Give it a do. Kata, part 2. A generation later, Saint Mark who is described as a dragon queller and a beast whose name has now changed to Brookie. How did they get that from that? Had their own battle. The beast appeared in Loch Tiger. The beast was as tall as a tree and could discharge balls of fire from its mouth. It was on a rampage, attacking and killing people. Saint Marklecha carried a magic bell and shot a ball of fire from it into the beast's mouth, setting it ablaze. He then drove the wounded creature back into the lake, which turned red with the monster's blood. This is like the 3rd time at least that we've had like bloody seas and lakes. The beast rose again from the lake, which shocked and embarrassed the saint. This time, Marklecha took off his cloak and threw it over the creature's heads. The cloak grew and grew like a cloak of melted iron, and this pressed the beast down to the bottom of the lake, where it was not to arise until Judgment Day. A lot riding on this Judgment Day. The saint then warned the people that if they did not pay a tribute, they will be cursed with disease and pestilence and conflict. So this is the etymology of the place near Paul na Brookie, which was the demon Brookie's den near Inchiquin in County Clare. Not so far from where I grew up kind of near there. Now, there is a 15th century carving in Kilmacree of a beast, which could be the Kata or Brookie. So Saint Marklecha is said to be from Liscannor in County Clare. The beast name was formerly Kata. Brookie can be translated as Bruckshi. Oh, that makes sense where it comes from. Bruckshi or fairy badger. So you have a fairy cat fox in front of you, but they're fairy badgers too. Yeah, this could be because there's so many stories with these creatures. Like even the Morrigan, there's like tons of stories. So they could be picking ones that are kind of more sensational. And actually, fun fact, the people reference Grimm fairy tales as the original fairy tales, which had dark endings and ooh, Disney ruined everything. And that's actually the Grimms added that stuff. A lot of those fairy tales weren't actually that dark initially at all. So they like convinced everyone. Some of them were, of course, obviously, because they're coming from mythologies like this. But it's pretty funny that they added all this stuff. Like they were like the edgy Zack Snyders of their day. Look at that, Fairy Badger's Lake, today called Loch Tiger. Oh, I'd like to visit that lake. Maybe there are badgers there I can pet and not get bitten by. Yeah, I just learned that I can get salmonella from handling my gecko. So you can't like kiss geckos and stuff apart. Reptiles can give you salmonella. I don't know why petting badgers made me think of that, but I guess badgers aren't the safest to pet either. Hi Smoky Irish, welcome to the stream. You've a lovely name for this particular stream, as we are looking at Irish beasties from Irish mythology, and I am Irish. An bhfuil tú ábhailte leabhar tá scoilge? Tá cúpla focail ago. Oh, Tralee! We were just dealing with Hold on, where was the Kelly men we were dealing with earlier? I want to try and go back to that a second. Scary Island. I think it was it the whale one? Serpent of Loch. Yeah, this one was from, let me go back a couple. So this guy is a fellow Kerry man. So he's from an enchanted lake in County Kerry with a ferocious serpent lurking in its depths. So say hi to me if you see him. Or her, was it her or him? I think it was a her. Yeah, it's a her. So say hi to this BR for me if you're passing by that lake. Where are we? I like this kind of, it's a very Monsters Inc. that color scheme. Or something along those lines. Yeah. Keep in contact with your roots. The song The Kerry Recruit is really funny. I've not heard that song. I just have to check it out after the stream. Or possibly I have heard it and just do not remember it because I am a ditz. So... Sorry, this is quite a large book, so it's kind of sitting on my knee and I'm trying to angle myself so the tracking can still pick me up. And so... Kirhana or Keranach. Okay, Kirhana or Keranach or Fire Spitter. Part 1. Iver Ahain. When St. Patrick was driving the pests, demons and snakes out of Ireland, he first drove them to Ireland's holy mountain of Croagh. On the northern side of this great seaside rock is a hollow in the mountain called Loch Tiger, which translates to Hollow of the Demons. According to legend, this was the last place where the demons retreated before being banished into the sea forever. When St. Patrick was herding the demons towards the sea, one of them, named the Corhana, slipped away and escaped. When St. Patrick had finished expelling the creatures on the mountain, he tried to catch the slippery Corhana, but the Corhana stayed ahead of the saint, eventually making his way north towards Sligo. The demon spoiled all the wells along the way with his foul fiery breath, until he and St. Patrick came to Dullahan Well in County Sligo. At Dullahan Well, St. Patrick was overcome with a great thirst. Same. I think we've all been overcome with a great thirst, especially when shrimping for our favourite VTubers. He prayed for a drink and a fountain sprung up. on the side of the little hill. After his thirst was quenched, his strength was renewed and he was able to defeat the demon, driving her away from Ireland forever. This well was subsequently held in great veneration to St. Patrick, and there is a hollow on the hill where the saint lay concealed until the demon came into sight. Rex says they demon, so there are occasional typos in this book. Unless it's like playing 5D chess with grammar, or doing like written Irish accents and things. Part 2. There is another legend that says that St. Patrick failed to kill the Carnoch in Sligo, allowing her to make her way further north, where she is a giant serpent or monster dwelling in the waters of Loch Tiger in County Donegal. Legend has it that she appears during stormy weather, where she sucks men and cattle into her gaping mouth. Her lair is said to be close to the pilgrimage site of Station Ireland, and indeed there is a stone there that is said to be part of her skeleton. The name Keranach could be a derivation of the name Cora, who was an Irish goddess that St. Patrick battled on top of Croagh. There is also folklore that suggests that St. Patrick fought the creature for 2 nights and 2 days, while both were submerged in the water. Another older legend says that when the shin bones of Fionn MacCool's mother were thrown down into Loch Tiger, they immediately became alive as the Keranach, who ate their grandchild Conan, the barbarian, who then fought his way out of her belly. The blood of her dying body turned the lake red, again with the all this LCL everywhere, which in turn gave the lake its name, Loch Tiger. Derg coming from Darg, which is red in Irish, Oscuelga. It's a farb. Farba is Irish colours, I think. Loch Tiger translates as red lake. Loch and red, Loch is Loch, lake is Loch, and red is Derg or Darg. Yeah, I've kind of been to some of these places, but not directly. Like, Ireland is quite a small place, so ideally you can go everywhere fairly easy. But because there's so many places along twisted roads and the back of beyond and like no services and things, our bus services are pretty bad. It can be really difficult. Like, there are places I wanted to see, like talking about the Morrigan and Aunand. There is a place called the Pops of Anu in County Kerry, somewhere. I think it's between Tralee and Killarney somewhere. It's in Killarney, but kind of slightly towards. Yeah, no motorway. There are motorways, but they only go to the big sort of cities and towns. And basically, it's like meant to be mountains in the shape of the Morrigans' boobas. And either coincidentally or possibly this is why they're named after a name associated with the Morrigan. If you go to the top of them, ravens fly on the updrafts, and they collect around these cairns. I showed a cairn. In my first stream, I might have shown one last stream too. Which are like places where they bury the dead and stuff. So that's pretty good. I'd love to like see all those ravens and stuff flying up the giant blue base. Okay. It should not take me like 5 hours to get from Roscommon to Cork by train. Like, yeah, that's ridiculous. An annoying thing going from Cork to places as well is that you often have to change to Limerick Junction, and to get to Kerry, you have to change to Mallow. Like even going to Waterford, you have to change to Limerick Junction, and Limerick Junction is like, I love liminal spaces and the energy they have, but it's like got the wet dry world negative emotional aura and then some. It's like this weird nowhere space. It weirds a lot of people out. It's like near a racetrack, and that's like the only thing there for miles. See, that's the problem. There's a lot of places in Ireland that are kind of nowhere and don't have like the natural beauty normally associated with Ireland, largely because like all of our trees were cut down a couple of 100 years ago. Anyway, I'm rambling. So we're talking about the Irish Cyclops. The legendary Irish story, The Pursuit of Diarmid and Grania, translated by the Oceanic Society. There is a legend of giant Cyclops. I think in Fate Zero had Diarmid was the answer instead of Cuchulainn. I find it amazing that the Fate series, a lot of Japanese stuff in general, actually get the Irish pronunciations right. Whereas like BioWare, if you play Dragon Age, it's like Logain. It should be like Loan. I think it's where Logan comes from actually. Oh god, yeah, a lot of those in between stations are constantly being revamped, and yeah, I like traveling from by train from Cork to Dublin because it's kind of direct, and it's a kind of if you get one of the good trains, because there's one model of train that it was designed for. I read about this. It's incredibly bumpy, and apparently it was designed for like much smoother tracks in Europe where it doesn't have these problems. Whereas the previous model, which are very old right now, didn't have that level of bumpiness, so it's like an incompatibility with our crap rails. But then there's another new model again, which is much smoother and has like chargers and stuff. Although the slightly older ones have been retrofitted. But yeah, anyway, that's train lore, and that's not quite what we're here for. In the story, the Tuatha De Danann wanted to protect a quicken tree or rowan tree from the Fenians of Éireann. The quicken tree was magical. Anyone who ate 3 berries from it would suffer no disease or sickness, and would feel the exhilaration of wine and the satisfaction of mead. And if they were 100 years old, anyone who tasted these berries would return again as a 30-year-old. Yo, what can I with these berries? Like if I can somehow manage to survive to 100, that will be... Yeah, because I really want to like start... I did start over my 20s again, since I like... buggered it up, or it got buggered up for me because of various things. I didn't transition to like mid-20s to late 20s. But yeah, 30-year-old would be grand. The Tuatha sent out one of their own, a youth named Servan Lochlanach, to guard the tree. He was described as a thick-boned, large-nosed, crooked-tusked, red-eyed and swarthy-bodied giant. He was a child of Wicked Cam, son of Nay. I'm going to read some of the notes actually. The Fenians of Éireann were a small army associated with the legendary heroic figure Fionn McCool. So Fenians kind of sounds like Fionn, like the people of Fionn. Cam is a derivation of the name Han, and Nay is a derivation of the name Noah. Yes, there's all this stuff from like Christian stuff mixed in here as well. Weapons would not wound him, fire would not burn him, and water would not drown him. So great was his magic. He had but one eye in the middle of his black forehead, and he had a thick collar of iron round his giant body, and he is fated not to die until he is struck with 3 strokes of the iron club that he carries with him. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting yourself. Stop hitting... Oh! There you go. You stopped hitting yourself. Grania, the heroine of the story, explained to Diarmid that she would die unless she tasted the magical berries. Diarmid had a furious fight, attained the giant's club and delivered 3 mighty blows, killing the giant. He then presented Grania with the berries. Alright, we're on the swan woman. I actually have a statue. It's in one of my picture things. My parents have a Children of Lure statue, I think. I took pictures. I have a Morrigan statue as well. I took pictures of them together for like crossover episodes because there's quite separate stories in Irish mythology. This book reminded me, actually, there's an anime from the 80s called Aura Battler Dunbine. It's got a load of... I've heard of Dunbine. That's like a super familiar name I haven't heard for years. It's got a load of reference to Irish mythology. It's really cool. I find it hard to watch a lot of older anime, as in like older than the 90s. But that sounds really cool. I'd love to check it out. Yeah, some of these anime is really cool, of course. Like Gunbuster is pretty iconic anime for me. Anyway, the Swan woman... The swan. There are many popular stories relating to the swan in Ireland, the most famous of which is The Children of Lure. It was always thought in Ireland that it was unlucky to kill a swan. Perhaps this is related to the belief that they held the souls of chaste girls. So you heard it here, whenever classical abbey like trips over a rock and dies, instead of getting Isekai, she's just going to like turn into a swan. It was also thought that a swan could put a person under her spell with the sound of her musical voice. In P.W. Joyce's The Wonder of Ireland, he recounts the folk story of the 10th century poet Urard MacCosey. In the legend, MacCosey saw a flock of swans flying near him on the Boyne River. Boyne River is a pretty, like there's the Battle of the Boyne, so it's a very iconic place in Irish history. A lot of history and mythology overlaps very heavily, a bit like Greek mythology, it overlaps very heavily in Irish history. Erard threw a stone and hit one of the swans on the wing, and it fell to the ground. Isn't this like the plot of Swan Lake? Erard ran to catch it, but when he reached it, he found that it had turned into a woman. He asked how she came to be in the shape of a swan, and she answered him, saying that she was gravely ill, and demons had spirited away, and that it seemed to her companions that she was dead. So he kind of did get Isekai. Both she and the demons took the shape of swans until the curse was broken by that lucky accident with the poet. MacCosey cared for her in his house, and after a time returned her to her friends. There's also a legend involving Oingus. In the legend, Oingus has a dream that lasts over a year. In the dream, Princess Caer Ibormaith stood beside his bed, but whenever he reached out to touch her, she disappeared. Caer was enchanted, and every alternate year she appeared either as a human or a swan. Oingus searches for her in his dreams and finds her with 149 other girls chained in pairs at Loch Beldrakon. Oingus is told that if he can identify his Caer in swan form from amongst the other 150 swans, he can marry her. Wisely, Oingus enchants himself and turns into a swan. In this guise, he easily recognizes Caer. They fly away together, singing as they go. This sweet singing put all that could hear them to sleep for 3 days and 3 nights. See, some of these have like happy endings. I like the happy ending ones. I should like read some of these for Phoebe, since her whole thing is like turning 2D and making stories have a happy ending. So this is a nice one. Even though it's got some weirdness in it. The origin of this legend is from the Book of Glendalough, which no longer exists. I think that was mentioned earlier actually. However, transcripts from it appear in the 14th century Book of Ballymote, which has also been mentioned previously. Oingus is member of the two-headed Dullahan and is a god of love, youth and poetry. Caer Ibormaith was a daughter of Prince Ethel and Abunael Connacht. Caer is usually like his castle or something, so I was just waiting for her to say, and then he hates her line. Yeah, I do be like that sometimes. And there's a definite vibe to like 80s mecha shows, I do agree. I like 80s stuff in general as an aesthetic, and everyone likes 80s stuff in it for like the last few years anyway, and now we're moving on to kind of 90s nostalgia a bit. I finished Yakuza 0 not that long ago, so I still have quite a bit of 80s nostalgia, and I'm big into synthwave and like kind of 80s goth and stuff, so 80s is a great year for a great decade for synths as well. Because you had like the Rolling Junos, that's when the DX7 was launched, even though they did kind of set a negative precedent for synths because of the lack of Nobis. Yeah, I'm going to talk about synths all night. If I keep going, it's hard not to talk about synths of the 80s. It's kind of a thing. Crom Dove. Big bull, big boy. Crom Dove, or Crom Cruach, was a pre-Christian god. There are many instances of Crom Dove and St. Patrick battling, though ultimately St. Patrick succeeds in defeating his pagan foe. These are commemorated in the naming of Dubhnach Crom Dove, or Crom Dove Sunday, which is the last Sunday in July. Crom Dove translates to dark or crooked one. There are many sites around Ireland devoted to Crom Dove and his battles with St. Patrick, and these places often have serpents or demons associated with them. One, named Mamin, is particularly interesting and is at a site very close to my own home. That's not my home, it's Mark Joyce's home, wherever he lives. In many respects, it got me interested in this subject. Mamin translates as Pass of the Birds, which makes sense as it connects at a height 2 valleys in Connemara. According to the legend, Crom Dove is a speckled bull that attacked all who attempt to use the pass. You shall not pass, I'm a bull. Oh. St. Patrick fought the bull and drove him into a little lake that to this day is called Loch Tiger, the bull's lake, and has had a red glow on it ever. God damn it, these red lakes! I've had it with these red lakes on this damn fairy island. This little lake is thought to be bottomless, with an enchanted serpent, all-faced. Which, I think, did we do that one already? It's in here somewhere. In it, imprisoned by St. Patrick. Yeah, I do listen to... The thing about synthwave is that, like, it does sound pretty samey after... Like, it's an amazing... like, any good synthwave is, like, generally really good. But it also is really samey. There's some like cool artists that like are a bit more aggressive or a bit more interesting, like Carpenter Brut. I really like his vibes. Not that little. It's little in some regards and big in others, you know? It's bigger on the inside, it's a TARDIS lake. Yeah, I'm probably going to get into like composing synthwave music because I got like a Roland MC 101, which has like all the Roland synths on it kind of. But, well, most of them has a lot of Roland sounds on it anyway and has a fair amount of actual synths modeled and can cop the feel of some others. So you have like your Junos and stuff like that. So that's very big into the synthwave sounds. The White Trout of Kong. I love fishes with like, this man faces. They're so weird. The White Trout of Kong. Samuel Lover, in his book from the 1830s, Legends and Stories of Ireland, recounts a folktale he heard about the white trout of Kong. The story is set in the Pigeonhole, which is a natural cave with 61 steps leading down to a subterranean river. The tale goes that once there was a beautiful girl who was betrothed to a prince, but sadly, before their wedding day, the prince was murdered and thrown into the lake. The girl was so distraught at her loss that she hid away. The story goes that the fairies took her away. Over the course of time, the white trout was seen in the underground river at the Pigeonhole. The white trout lived in the same spot for years, and local people knew not to harm it. All was well until some soldiers entered the village, one of whom heard the story of the white trout and was determined to eat it, despite vigorous warnings. This is like me being warned not to kiss my lizards. The soldier caught the little white trout and attempted to fry it on a pan, despite its human cries of pain. Oh, that's horrifying. No matter how long he tried to fry it, it wouldn't cook. Eventually, he took a knife to its side. As soon as he put the knife to the fish, there was a murderous scream. Jesus, dude, just stop, dude. Come on. The trout jumped from the pan into the fire, and on the spot where it fell rose up the beautiful girl with blood streaming down her arm. She told the soldier of her murdered fiancé, just casually telling her about it after she fucking was cooked. And how she was waiting for him in the stream, and that if she missed him because of the soldier's evil deeds, she would curse him for all time. She curse him anyway, come on. She then insisted that he would return her to the stream, so she could resume her vigil. When he saw her in the water, he could see the red marks of where he had cut her, which remain on the white trout to this day. Yeah, oh god, what a dick. Like, oh yeah, I'll curse you if you do this thing. Like, it's... I don't think I would have had that patience if I was a magical cod woman. I don't know. Although cursing is haram, so I should not be talking about such things. I do positive magic, good magic. Sometimes reality warping magic, but of the sort of positive veil. Anyway, let's get on with this. Alright, so here's another big one for me, the Lan Shi. My last character, who may appear as a character on streams in D&D, was called Eleanor Prism River. And she was wasn't Lan Shi. By biology, she was like a half-elf, Fey-touched half-elf, but she was Lan Shi. So yeah, there are like really negative depictions of the Lan Shi that weren't sort of consistent with the more early myths. The Lan Shi. The Lan Shi, or Fairy Mistress, is the female version of the Gabloch. She seeks out the love of men, and if they refuse her advances, she becomes enslaved to them. However, if they consent, they belong to her, and the only escape from such a curse is by finding another man to replace the first. All her lovers waste away, because she is like a parasite feeding on their life force. Bards in the past were often entranced by the Lan Shi, because she also acted as a sort of muse, offering inspiration to her consorts. Ultimately, she is like a poisoned chalice. The Irish bards under her spell died young, and after their deaths, she would go on to seduce another and another. Yeah, I'm sorry, I don't like this. This is, basically what happened is Yeats had this really negative version of the Lan Shi in his writings, and I think conflated her with a more negative myth of the Bavenshi, which is like a more literal vampire fairy. And yeah, talked about the Gaelic poets being drained of their energy. It's important to remember that Yeats was a dude, he was a man. Talking about this soul-sucking man-eater woman. Lady Gregory, who I've talked about before, who I totally knew in my past life, who was associated with Yeats, but actually wrote a lot more fondly of her, claiming that one of the aspects of Anya, the Queen of the Munster Fairies, another friend of mine, was actually a Lan Shi. So that's pretty poggers. I wouldn't want to be talking to Anya this way. She she bit the ear off a guy that abused her, so she's pretty badass. But anyway, Anya is supposedly a Lan Shi. So yeah, don't listen to this anti-Fae propaganda. King of the Cats. Yeah, we don't have a Kaichi, as I said, in this as such. It is more associated with Scottish myth, although there is the Loch Ness Monster, so we'll find out why he's in there later. King of the Cats. There are many stories connected to the King of the Cats, the most famous of which is of Irisan. Irisan lived in a cave near Clonmacnoise and was as big as an ox. The first mention of Irisan comes from Imtiocht on Tromheine. Hold on, I need to parse this. My Irish grammar isn't that good. Okay, Imtiocht na Tromdaive. The proceedings of the Great Bardic Institution, which dates back to the 15th century. According to the story, the chief poet of Ireland, Sinchan Torpist, cursed all of the mice in Ireland and went on to curse the cats, whose job it was to kill the mice. Oh, don't curse the cats, dude. The internet will be after you. My friend, hates Vadim. Does not like when people do mean things to cats. You should totally watch his video about Tim Pool, by the way. It's pretty... His videos are amazing, actually. I'll just give him a general list. He's one of the few people that I kind of kept association with from left-leaning YouTube and Twitch. He did Creationist Cat, was his best-known thing and stuff like that. But yeah, anyway, don't mess with cats. I am part cat. I am a puka, but I am a cat fox puka, because pukas tend to have one or more animals that they turn into or are associated with. So yeah, I am a cat fox. Yeah, it's looking to get cancelled. I get it cancelled like people complain about it nowadays, but you don't want to like be cancelled by like bards in like ye old Ireland or Britain or Europe or wherever. Because sort of one of the roles of bards is to like spread positive vibes about basically like hype men for like kings, royalty, important people, maybe other bards and things like that. So you don't want to get cancelled by a bard because like that was often the only way anyone knew anything about what was happening like 6 counties away. So getting cancelled by bards is pretty rough. So that's one of the reasons why they were so like the Philly and the people like that were like so revered in our society and other societies and skulls and things like that. You don't want to mess with the bard. Okay, where are we? Caught the poet held with the arm. Yeah, Isran hunted down the poet with the intention of killing him. Irsan caught the poet and held him by the arm. Sentchen was afraid for his life and tried to flatter the cat to no avail. Yeah, I think we've all been there with our cats. Irsan went straight to the forge at Clonmacnoise, where St. Kieran happened to be. He was shocked at the poet's plight and killed the cat with a red-hot poker from the fire. Some say the king of cats lives to this day, looking like any other cat. Could be one of you in the chat. If you wish to verify if a cat has any royal claim, you merely snip a bit of his ear. If he speaks out, declaring who he is, you can be sure you're in the presence of royal... Please don't do this. You're a cat. A related legend involves Loch Tiger, king of the mice. Loch Tiger was the king of the mice in Kilkenny. That was where werewolves come from as well. And was slain by the huge cat monster. Oh, this is going to be a mouthful. Bangais Gabloch, who lived in the Dunmore Caves near modern-day Kilkenny City. The Kilkenny Gaelic football team and the hurling team are known as the Cats. This legend comes from a macabre story of cats that got into such frenzied fights that they devoured each other to the point that all that was left were their tails. Ah, spooky. Anyway, that was the King of Cats. That was a loss. Are we getting close to the puka? I have no idea. I'm going to stop when I get to the puka because this is taking longer because I'm explaining things and bantering, which is kind of normal for a stream. I don't want to just talk at you guys. I want to talk with you guys as much as I can. So I really appreciate everyone who has turned up for this. Oh, 7 people. That's actually pretty decent for. I would actually be happy if I got like 9 or 10 like regulars. That would sustain me for a while. Like ideally, I would like to be able to get up into numbers of other smaller YouTubers. Not YouTubers. Well, yeah, actually YouTubers. Go to my YouTube. I have YouTube videos. I would really like to have like 9 or 10 people. Ideally, like I would like to grow up to close to 100 if I could. I don't think that I'm going to be a big streamer because I am too scuffed. I guess working at it, I'll grow slower with time, maybe, but with the increasing saturation of YouTubers, even though I kind of have a gimmick that not many other people are doing, I do kind of need, and I have a decent model, but I'm going to get a proper layout and stuff done eventually, but there's going to be a lot of work. I'm going to have to do some of it myself because I'm poor. If you want to throw some money at me, there's a link to my tips. I support vulnerable Roma families in the community and sometimes refugees and others. So that does not leave me with not to like boast about the awesome things I do. I only do this stuff because I'm sort of thrown with it and there's no one else to do it. But yeah, it does, like I don't have money for a headset or anything like that. If you can meme and have scuff today, so come yeah. See, like this is why Nyanners is like my idol. Like she is my whole. I was never that into Hololive was maybe like my first introduction where I saw some of the videos and stuff, but that didn't grab me. It was Nyanners that grabbed me because she turns her ADHD into a personality, and I struggle when I'm bouncing off other people. Sometimes I do have kind of a personality, but it can be difficult when you're on your own and have crippling social anxiety to express yourself in a unique manner. Anyway, I need to cough because I have a bad throat. Give me a second. I do not think it's a COVID cough. I cough a lot because I have sinus problems, which is one of the reasons why my voice can be kind of nasally sometimes. And one of the reasons why it's difficult for me to reach higher pitches, aside from being trans. I had a really low voice. I'm going to drop my voice for you guys, actually. So if I want to go really nice and soft and gentle, I can sound like this, or I can go all the way down here, boy. You'll hear me doing this voice sometimes to do like funny Irish accents, so they can impersonate some of the people that are talking in this, yeah? How's it going, boy? I'm from Cork. Okay, that's enough of that. Anyway, so yeah, it took a lot of training to be able to get my voice up here. Cork, boy. Or Limerick. Yeah, Limerick is like a more... Cork is a more earthy version of the Limerick accents. A lot of people find the Cork one more annoying. I guess the Limerick one is quirkier, but I like the Cork accent. I really like the Dublin accent. Oh, something called a good Dublin accent. I cannot do one very well, but that is probably my favorite. Yeah, same. I'm actually in Cork as well. Not to get too specific in my location, but I am in Cork. I have lived in numerous places in Ireland, but yeah, Cork is where I've been for some time now, and it is pretty much my home. That is really cool, show. We got Cork gang, Cork gang. That's going to be our raid message. When we raid someone, and we will, originally from Roscommon, but I moved here for college. I knew one girl from Roscommon, and that was about it. Roscommon is pretty far, as you've already said. Not by distance, but by bad infrastructure. Anyway, if you had like some kind of horse to ride on, or a king with horse ears, who probably wouldn't let you ride him, but that's how I'm segueing back into the story. In the crypt of St. Patrick's Cathedral in Armagh is a sculpture of a man with the ears of a horse. This is thought to be an adapted version of the tale of King Midas. The Irish version of the story features King Labre Loinshoch, who was cursed with horse ears. Society at the time wouldn't allow a king with an imperfect body. It sounds like a trans metaphor. Wouldn't allow a king with an imperfect body. So in order to protect his secret, he killed his barbers as soon as they cut his hair. When the widowed mother of one of his barbers pleaded with the king to spare her son, he was merciful on the condition that the barber would never reveal the king's secret. Over time, this became such a hardship for the boy that it made him ill. In order to relieve himself of the burden, he confessed his secret to a willow tree, and he was cured. In this time, the tree was cut and its timber was used to make a magic harp. When this magical harp was played in the king's court, it sang out and revealed the king's secret horse ears. I kind of like that. I don't know why. It's just I like that whole like the magical properties transferring to the artifact, and it's top tier like folklore. Harps are a big thing in Irish culture. I think Anya, who was talking about, was associated with harps, and I'm not sure willow trees. There's a type of tree that's associated with her, and she plays harp in that tree. Oh, we got some snakes. Snake. It's him. It's him. It's he. The snake. Mechi. Mechi is the son of the Morrigan, who we talked about earlier. We can find the mythology of Mechi in the Din Shenkos, which is the 12th century manuscript. Yeah, we can blame on people not being able to pronounce their words, or even most Irish people can't. And I'm like probably above average, otherwise I wouldn't have bothered doing this stream. Mechi was born with 3 hearts, and living in each heart was a snake. There was a prophecy that unless Mechi was killed, the snakes would have grown in his belly until they would not have left an animal alive in Ireland. There's a lot of that, like, all-consuming animals. Machet, who was the slayer of 100, we had the 100 hero, and now we've a slayer of 100, killed Mechi and afterwards removed the hearts and burned them on Magluth, which translates to the plain of ashes. Machet then cast the ashes into the Barrow River, which boiled until the ashes dissolved. Machet shared the kinship of Ireland with his brothers. They rotated their kingship between them a year at a time, covering about 30 years. Yeah, sorry about the pronunciation in that one. I really got thrown off when I was reading at a read angle. I need to figure out a better way to angle my mic and camera for doing these story times. Because previously I was reading off a screen, but I really want to read with the actual book. But when I finish this book, most of my story times are going to be reading off the screen. Gon Cannock. That sounds like Gon Caunach, which would mean like without a head. But that's a Dullahan, and that's for later. Gon Cannock, from the Irish Gian Cannock, meaning love talker, is a male fairy in Irish mythology that is known for seducing women. The Gan Cannock was a solitary fairy like the leprechaun. He was devoted to idleness and always appeared with a little clay pug called a duidin. He was often spotted in lonesome places and had a particular affection for shepherdesses and milkmaids. Oh, he likes the mommy milkies! If someone fell for him, he would ultimately abandon them and they would pine for death. It was said that anyone who lost their fortune from devotion to a woman was said to have met a Gan Cannock. It is interesting to note that the poet W.B. Yeats used the Gan Cannock as a nom de plume in his book John Sherman and the Dhoya. Yeah, there's the thing. This is the guy that like talks shits about my sisters, the Lannan Cheese, Like, he just identifies as the male version, which, if anything, like, sums up patriarchy. It's that. God, yeah, don't cancel the Lan and G's and cancel these guys instead. Glas Givnan. Glas Givnan translates as the Grey Cow of Givnan. Wait, so they're not translating the Givnan character, they're just trying to... Glas is... Okay, never mind. The Grey Cow of Givnan was a magical or fairy cow guarded by the craftsman Givnan, who kept the halter to which she unflailingly returned every night. There are many stories in Irish folklore relating to this bountiful animal. She was so strong that she could walk through 3 of Ireland's provinces in one day, and her milk was so plentiful that she could feed hundreds of people with it. What's one of these mommy milkies at the Morrigan, and now we've Glas Givnan. It's like, yeah, you have no shortage of mommy milkies in Irish mythology. It's like, if you want a mythology that is going to give you the milk, the glorious milk and the teats, you gotta go for the Irish. One story about this amazing cow was that at one milking, she could fill any vessel, no matter how large. Sorry, cats. I'm just thinking of the Mega Milk meme that was everywhere a few years ago. 2 women wagered on whether a vessel could be found to outsize her capacity, and when a sieve was produced, the ever-flowing cow's milk caused 7 streams to overflow. Also, it was said that the hoofs of this cow were reversed, and the backwards tracks always fooled the potential cattle thieves in pursuit. I guess her milkshake brought all the cattle thieves to the yard. In the Burren in County Clare. Oh, we showed the Burren before. I'll show you again before we go. It's like, it's a really amazing place, but not many of these places, not many of these tales have mentioned this. There's supposedly a swallow hole named Pol Lemnachta, which translates to a hole of sweet milk. It is there that, even with the grey cow's endless supply of milk, she could not fill the hole and disappeared in the attempt. So, I guess it was a hole big enough to satisfy the mommy milky. Oh, here we are. Here's our headless boy. Or head detached boy or girl or non-binary. Hi! Hey, GP Reads. We're reading some mythology here. Irish mythology. Or folklore. Yeah, we should call it folklore rather than mythology because a lot of it isn't as old. Although it is old, but it isn't as attested as far back as like more mythological things. But, yeah, it's much of a muchness. So, the Dullahan, which you probably know from animes, the Dullahan are headless phantoms that are widespread around Ireland, though variants of them can be found around Europe and as far away as the Americas. Sometimes they are women, but more often they are men. Sometimes the Dullahan is referred to as Gankian without a head. Yeah, I remember I said about Gankianach earlier, like it sounds like Gankian. Which means without a head. The Dullahan are seen with headless horses and coist boha, or cocha bower, which is an immense black funeral coach mounted with a coffin. These phantoms carry their own heads in their arms. If you hear the sound of a coach, be sure not to open the door because, if you open it, the Dullahan will throw a basin of blood in your face. Rude. His eyes are dark and always darting around. If the Dullahan sees you looking at him, he will whip your eyes out. There are numerous stories of the Dullahan in Ireland and some that connect the death coach to fairies. People used to be taken by the fairies long ago, and it seems that they lived out their ordinary span of life among the fairies. When they died and they had to be buried, people said that this death coach was a hearse that was used for them by the fairy people. There is also a link between the Dullahan and gold. In County Roscommon, shout out County Roscommon, there was a tradition that if you carried a piece of gold, it would frighten the Dullahan away. In Connemara, a folklorist reinforced this idea, where he recorded that somebody having dropped their gold-headed pin scared away the Dullahan. Thank you, GP Reads. Oh, yeah, I quite like it too. The dress is not quite mine. I recorded it, but I got it off Booth. When I do my panels, I shall be posting all the names of people and many things that I've used. Also don't use spines as whips. That's pretty metal. Yeah, I would. You guys have no idea how much I'm being held back by the fact that I cannot attach things to my model currently. Because A, Blender is absolute mess at attaching things to VRM skeletons, and B, I cannot import my model currently into what's that other thing? Unity. I have no idea why I'm getting a mysterious. Once you get an error in like these things to do with like 3D VTubing stuff, there's like not actually that much like support in terms of people don't know what they're doing a lot of the time, because we're using a lot of like scripts that are semi-experimental and things for transferring VRMs over. Anyway, Balor of the Irish, the Evil Eye. I think we fought him in D&D once. He is a D&D baddie, I think. The Irish Cyclops. The second Irish Cyclops. Hold on, was there a note on the last page actually? I mean, triple check. Yeah, co-spotter translates to a role coach. Balor was the king of the Fomorians and came from a great castle on Tory Island in Donegal. Tory Island, that does not sound like a fun place. Got all these Tory peers like lying around in benches going, the poors. We don't like the poors or the Irish. He was a giant with a basilisk eye that he only opened in battle. The eye could kill with a single glance and took 4 men to open it. Balor received his poisonous eye as... Hold on, let me check them. The music went on to something else. Let me reset it. There we go. There's a little jingle for the people that made that at the end. Up. Balor received his poisonous eye as a child. When he spied upon his father's druids making potions of death, some of the fumes from the concoction went into his eye, creating the magic. That's like a very comic book origin story. Yeah. On the same day, one of the druids gave a prophecy that Balor would be killed by his own grandson. Balor went to some lengths to prevent the prophecy of his death from coming true. He locked his daughter Ethna in a tower, but despite this, ultimately it was himself who caused Ethna to meet the man that would father his grandson. Balor coveted the fairy cow, Glasgivman, the mummy Milky we just covered, of whom we have an entry in this book, and stole her while he was in disguise. Cian, who was a member of the Tuatha De Danann, was guarding the cow, and when he went to retrieve it, he met Ethna and formed their union, bore a son, Lugh. So Lugh of the long arm, he was another big hero in Irish mythology. Lugh became the king of the Tuatha De Danann and led them in the second battle of Mytura against the Fomorian army led by Balor. The Fomorians are kind of like the big bads in Irish mythology, so they're often used as like the Dark Fae in D&D as well. Where they're usually like ugly, malformed giants. But that's something, the Fomorians are originally like pretty, and then they turn into like the weird ugly giants later on. They were cursed. Lugh killed Balor by piercing his evil eye with a spear that was crafted by Gibnu, the owner of the fairy cow. A legend from Sligo mentions that Loch Tiger, which means the lake of the eye, was created when Balor fell face down after being killed by Lugh. His evil eye burned a crater with the earth, which filled with water, and so the lake was created. Hi Nadia. You can always listen back to this in the VOD, but thank you for coming and keeping my numbers up. I think the average numbers I've had during this stream should hopefully ensure that I get affiliate. Although it won't be a waste to get affiliate and then get like 1 person per stream, so I would have to keep the promotion up. The Fomorians are evil giants that came from the sea. The word Basic refers to legendary creatures that could use their eyes to kill people with just a glance. Hold on. I'll lower my gamer chair. The Tuatha De Danann, the people of tribe of the goddess Dana, and their supernatural race in Irish mythology. But yeah, we already met those earlier. Or what are we on next? Another mermaids. It's a catfish. Like a literal catfish. Like you think you've been catfished online, you have not been catfished until you see this catfish. Liban Mermaids. The first mention of Liban comes from the Annals of the Four Masters. The Annals of the Four Masters is a compilation of earlier books, although they contain some original work. They were written in the northwest of Ireland in 1630s. The Annals were written in Irish. Several manuscript copies are held at Trinity College Dublin, the Royal Irish Academy, University College Dublin, and the National Library of Ireland. In the Annals, it is written that a mermaid was found ashore in Scotland. She was 195 feet in length. What? What? What a big lady. That's like the One Piece mermaids, only more so. Her hair was 18 feet long. So she actually just looks like a pixie cut. Because if she's like 109, or like ear length, or yeah, that's... Her hair is 18 feet long, her fingers were 7 feet, as was her nose, and she was as white as a swan. In this extract, she gets her nickname Murghelt or Sea Lunatic. The more popular legend is that she was a human daughter of the King of Tara. Tara is a hill in County Meath. Tara was the ancient seat of power, and the King of Tara was considered to be ultimate authority in Ireland, so that was before Dublin was the capital. She was baptised in the 6th century by St. Comgall, who was the Bishop of Bangor in County Down. Bangor. According to the legend, she lived near what is now Loch Tiger in Northern Ireland. She was swept away when someone failed to cover a sacred well. Loch Tiger, Old Irish Loch Tiger, is named after Liban's father, Ochid Mac Mari. The well overflowed, killing all her family and destroying her kingdom. Oh geez, more dark stuff. Only Liban survived with her dog, as she was caught in the underwater bubble where they dwelled for 2 years. From there, she saw the swimming salmon and prayed to become one. Her prayers were answered, and she gained the body of a salmon while retaining her human head. Her little dog became an otter. She was free to wander the seas while retaining her home in Loch Tiger. After 300 years, she was saved after being baptized so she could ascend into heaven. That's a bit like the ending of The Little Mermaid, where she gets... another fun fact, the original ending for The Little Mermaid was not the dark one at all. The original ending was never published, and for some reason he felt pressured to like do a darker ending for whatever reason, and then in subsequent versions he put it back in. And we know this because the Little Mermaid's name was originally the Daughters of the Air, implying that she turned into a sylph in the end. So it kind of transcends, like she goes from sea to land to air and does this whole metaphysical 25 shacks long. Alley-oop. That's like when I used to post on the 4chan mecha board. I did a meme where mechs were measured in Riomes, who's like the main pilot of the Getter series. Yes, she also very much named Morrigan Seaburn. She became known as the Mermaid of Loch Tiger. I'm not sure if I pronounced that exactly. Loch Tiger. Loch Tiger. Okay, so that's actually meant to be a dog. It really looks like a cat. I do not believe that is a dog. I'm sorry. This should be the next... Yeah, we should be very nearly at the puka, which is me. Luther. The story of Luther is a curious one. It comes from poem 8 in the 12th century book Din Shenkos. Talked about that one earlier, I think. The myth features Luther and Gabloch. Luther is described as being higher than any oak tree, and that he comes from the western side of Spain. He came to Ireland to woo Gabloch, who is described as being 50 cubits tall and half of that in breadth. What's with all these tall dudes and dudettes? Gabloch welcomed her suitor, and they had a feast that is described as having 100 of every beast and 100 measures of every grain on earth. The following morning, they were awoken by Fruther and his army, who had come to woo Gabloch. Fruther shouted, "Come out of your own accord, or else by force!" Luther came out fighting. He had a large stake of timber with which he attacked, crushing their heads and leaving pools of blood and brains. When Luther and his 14 heads and Fruther grew tired, Gabloch attacked and killed Fruther and his army, not one of whom escaped with their life. From this story came the name Dun Gowel, which translates to Fort of the Gowel or the River Liffey. Whoops. Fruther came from the islands of the Red Sea. Here we go, guys. This is the end of this particular adventure. Puka! Italy! Kind of. I do like the illustration, but obviously I am quite different looking. But yeah, we do look like spooky little weird goblin dudes or Miyazaki monsters sometimes, so yeah. So I will read what it says about Pukas here, and I will add in some of my own lore. Puka. The Puka is a well-known spirit in the Irish tradition that could change shape. The Puka could be a goat, horse, donkey, eagle, or even a black dog. The Puka rarely takes human form, but when it does, it can retain some animal features such as the ear of a donkey or the tail of a horse. The spirit is considered mostly malevolent, rude. He loves to take innocent mortals for dangerous rides through the countryside on his back, only to shake them off the following morning. The Puka particularly likes to prank drunkards, for as W.B. Yeats put it, a drunkard sleeps in his kingdom. There is a legend that Brian Boru was the only man to ever successfully ride a Puka, and this he did with the aid of a magic bridle. As I said, I do not turn to horse. If I took people for like wild troll rides, I would turn to a more ironic, obscure animal like a caribou, for example. Where are we now? The 1st of November is sacred to the Puka, and people will be safe from them on that day. I'm not going to bother you. You don't have to wait till 1st of November. I'm friendly, I'm nice. In the countryside, children are told not to eat any blackberries that are overripe, as this was a sign that the Puka had spat on them. Why would I go around wasting my wonderful saliva on blackberries? I would like either just take the blackberries and eat them myself, or not spit on them. I would not, I guess maybe some Pukas just go around licking them like, blackberries. That's not even how you get taste out of berries. College students in Ireland that wear predominantly black are often referred to as Pookies in reference to the black Puka. So that's why I have black hair. Well, actually I have black hair IRL as well. Capybara would be hilarious. Imagine just seeing a drunk dude wandering through a forest and wanted to... Yeah, well, capybaras are already like giant rodents, so like a giant rodent would be pretty... That'd be a sight. Brian Boru was born in County Clare, same place I was born, in 941 AD. He was the last High King of Ireland. I the last king to rule the whole island of Ireland. Okay, but he's also probably high. Okay, so that is the book for now. We do have more entries, but I am not going to do those right now. So I hope everyone enjoyed that. So yeah, this book is... Oh yeah, sorry, let me go back to the Mythical Irish Beast, written by and illustrated by Mark Joyce. And you can find it on Cork Books online. I will post it to my Twitter later. I am not sure about shipping internationally, but in Cork you should have no problem being able to get a copy. I picked mine up in a bookshop in Ennistimon. Okay, so I am going to look at people to raid now and ask everyone how their day was while I do that. So how was your day? I'm really glad to hear that. I'm really sorry my tracking is glitching out so much, by the way. I'm still finding it hard, as I said, to find the optimum webcam placement so I can read properly. Yeah, I had D&D, we had big reveals for our characters and stuff like that, so yeah, so my character, who takes up a huge portion of my brain sometimes, is still reeling from that a bit. Went too fast for me. Yeah, I recommend it because it's possible I've missed some entries, I'm not taking like high quality scans because I was worried that I got promoted by the actual people doing this. They retweeted me, so I didn't want to like have like high quality scans of the work you could just like take off. So they're still good enough that you don't have to buy it to figure out what it's talking about, but if you want like the really cool art and to read it to your kids and friends. My day was good, working college assignments all day, so pretty busy. Yeah, I remember college. Yeah, Mysterio. Yeah, there's one about like general legends and stuff, like not specifically Irish Beasts. This one jumped out to me because obviously I am a mythical Irish beast, and I just like the aesthetic of it as well. Like I just love the spoopy cute kind of, the creepy cute kind of aesthetic to it. It's really cool. It does again look like an indie game, like it's some sort of weird monstrous version of Night in the Woods or something. Okay, so who do we have? We've in terms of other trans people, we have Gloop Queen. Irene is... I may raid Irene because she's been pretty nice to me. play Becoming a Witch. Witches are my thing, so yeah, should I read someone smaller or bigger? I have 10 people, so I could actually give a fair amount to... How much shall I do? Okay, so what do you guys... Who do you guys want to raid? Cabbage Boy playing a speedy game called Cyberhook. Salem Starlight, a very cute cat witch playing Hollow Knight, which I'm kind of bad at. Gloop Queen, who is playing The Legend of Zelda Majora's Mask. That is in line with my aesthetic, alright. Yanchigogo, my very good Mananangal friend, who is playing according to her thing, Star Wars Jedi Fallen Order. Irene is playing Noita, which is also kind of aesthetic to me. Shinomiya, Alice Sawyer's watch horror movie trailers, that's also pretty aesthetic to me. Catwitch sounds good. Okay, I am going to say, I hope you guys do not mind watching Hollow Knight playthroughs. I may drop in for a bit because I am bad at Hollow Knight. And I have issues with some of the design decisions. Okay, so do you guys want Majora's Mask or do you want a Hollow Knight? Let me know. So do you still want Catwitch, Dragon Cat Lily? Are you still there? I do, yes. Okay, so we're going to raid the Cat Witch. So, Salem Starlight. That's okay, Brooke. I'm really thankful for, like, getting... I have 10 people right now. I probably have an average of at least 8. So that should... and I have over an hour and a half as well. So that's a good chunk out of my remaining hours I have to stream. So it's going to be fairly hard for me not to meet affiliate. Hopefully I will, and there'll be no other complications. And then I can... once I do that, I will set up my panels and other things. So yeah, I will be going to phase 2 of my testing. Okay, so we are going over to Salem Starlight, who is an incredibly cute cat witch. I really love her design so much, and she's really good at a Hollow Knight. I am really bad at it. But, well, I actually don't know. I don't have necessarily a metric to measure quite how good people are at Hollow Knight, but yeah, I will send you over there now. So I will send you with a raid message. Also, Salem Starlight, what a cool name. Like, if you're going to be a cat witch, you got to be Salem Starlight. Like, you got your references to 90s pop culture there, or more recently, a certain Netflix series, and you got your Starlight. You got the magical girl vibes. So yeah, Cork gang. She will not understand what it means, but just say that in chat, and we'll be all daijoubu. Oh yeah, sorry, Cart Gang. Maybe do like a flippin' Shamrock or something. Is there Shamrock? No! Oh, Clover. No results for Clover. Maybe it's called something else. I could have sworn there was one. I'm just going to double check while I have the times left. Oh. I'll just do this glitch cat. There we go. Okay, thank you so much for coming to the stream. I had a wonderful time with you all, and I will be finishing this off perhaps next week. Or, yeah, I might be able to finish it next week. I might go a little bit quicker just to make sure. Be lovely to Salem Starlight. And, yeah, Hollow Knight is a really cool game with some mechanics that drive me absolutely nuts, but it's really cool to watch other people playing. So, have fun. I love you all so much. Slán Awalia, Salam Alaikum, and good night.